Throughout history, revolutions have been occurring all over the world whenever citizens believe that they have been treated unfairly and deserve a change for the better. The United States was founded on protests and challenging hierarchies, like with the American Revolution. This revolution came as a result of Americans feeling that the British monarch had treated them unfairly and that they needed a change toward freedom and, of course, democracy. So what did they do? They wrote and handed out newspapers and pamphlets that helped unite the colonists. This was their form of mass communication, and what really helped launch the revolution. Eventually, after war and the Americans' win overall, the Declaration of Independence was signed, granting freedom to all those living in the 13 colonies, and thus America was born. The American Revolution wasn't the only act toward change here in America. Other examples include the women's suffrage movement, the women's rights movement, and of course, the civil rights movement. We have come a long way since protests, picket lines, sit-ins, and other demonstrations trying to inspire change. And with the rapid changes in the ways people communicate and voice their opinions, the need for a revolutionary change has become even more prevalent in today's societies. According to Dan Gilmore, the tools for creating news and community information are increasingly in everyone's hands, which is leading to more direct ways citizens can spark their revolutionary change, like in Egypt. There are plenty of reasons why Egyptian citizens revolted against President Hosni Mubarak, but they finally realized that they have had enough when an Egyptian businessman by the name of Khalid Said was brutally beaten to death at an internet cafe by 2 police officers for trying to expose government corruption. Soon afterwards, a man by the name of Wael Ghanem, Google's regional marketing manager for the Middle East, created a Facebook page called We Are All Khalid Said. The page depicted more images of police brutality across Egypt, and it had such a large following that people started realizing that they did not want to live their lives in fear anymore, and wanted to see some change. The people of Egypt began to use social media to organize the uprising. People were using Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube to communicate with each other until the Egyptian government shut down the internet and blocked all phone signals. Once that happened, they decided that it was time to take their protests to the streets. The government's plan to block communication between protesters backfired, and suddenly the people who had no internet access to begin with joined the now visible cause. After mass protests were held in Cairo and other cities, Hosni Mubarak announced on February 1st that after nearly 30 years of being in power, he would not attempt to be re-elected. After more protests, Mubarak appeared on state television on February 10th, saying that he would transfer his powers over to his vice president, Omar Suleiman, but would still be the president. The very next day, Suleiman announced that Mubarak was stepping down as president and that the Military Supreme Council of the Armed Forces would run the country, all taking place in just 18 days. Although the success of the movement was not solely based on the use of social media, it did play a very important role in helping to kickstart the revolution. Sasha Menrath, the director of the New American Foundation's Open Technology Initiative, says, "Social media have become the pamphlets of the 21st century, a way that people who are frustrated with the status quo can organize themselves and coordinate protest, and in the case of Egypt, revolution. With the help of modern forms of communication, Egyptians were able to bring about the first democratic election in over 30 years, which was recently held on June 16th and June 17th.